Television's most popular quiz show. He has held that position for 22 years. He has won 4 Emmy Awards and has a nightly audience of more than 12 million. Jeopardy recently went into the Guinness Book of World Records as the game show with the most Emmys, a total of 25. In November, it will celebrate its 5,000th episode. I am pleased to have Alex Trebek to the table for the first time. Welcome. It's about time.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I have been a question or an answer 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times on the program, yeah. And some people in our industry consider it as having arrived when they become Jeopardy clues.
I was
Obviously,
thrilled
you don't
to
need
meet
that.
somebody. I didn't see it the first time, and somebody called me and said, well, I was thrilled. Yeah.
Well, some celebrities...
Because I think it was my mother who called me to say.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I say that with some reservations, unfortunately, so many of our fans are elderly women.
Yes.
I get people coming up to me all the time saying, my mother is your biggest fan. Now, the people who say that are usually in their 40s or 50s, which puts their mothers in their 70s and 80s. I would love for a 10-year-old to come up to me and say, my mother thinks you're hot. She has a crush on you. It doesn't work that way.
What is the magic of it?
I think there are a number of levels on which Jeopardy succeeds. One, Americans are very competitive, and everybody wants to know how they compare to other individuals in that same area. Yeah. So when people are watching Jeopardy, and we go through about 60 questions, 60 clues per half hour, they're playing along. You can't watch Jeopardy while you're vacuuming the floor or while you're doing something else. You have to pay attention. And if you're able to come up with a response before one of our contestants, then you feel pretty good. And if you happen to be watching the program with somebody else in the room, even better, because then you are satisfying yourself and you are amazing your mate, your children, or your friend who's sitting there next to you, and they're saying, damn, he's a lot smarter than I thought. He got a lot of those clues before the contestants did. So it operates on that level. Another level on which I think we're very successful is that I think we're the good part of reality television. Yeah. We don't embarrass people. People on our show, as the old commercial used to say, earn money make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it. Yeah. There isn't too much luck involved. It's a game of skill to a certain extent.
As was a game in England called Masterminds, I think.
Yes, but Mastermind was much slower paced, and I'm not sure that Americans could adjust to that pace on television in our country.
They never brought it here?
No.
Yeah. Can you tell me, do you guys know what makes a great contestant? I mean, has there been any study in looking at the backgrounds, looking at whatever you can find out?
Well, over the years,
the profile of those who've done the best is similar.
Teachers, students, lawyers have done proportionately much better than other occupations, other ages. Students and teachers, because they are constantly dealing with the learning process, they have to think on their feet. Students quite often are trying to embarrass their teachers by asking them a question about the subject, and the teacher has to react quickly. Lawyers, same thing. They're dealing quite often in adversarial situations. They have to respond very quickly. They're used to the pressure of responding quickly. So they're not put off by that. And when they get on television, on our show, in front of the lights and in front of an audience, they're perhaps more relaxed than the other players would be. If you had an office worker from New York City or a plumber from Poughkeepsie, used to doing their jobs, but now all of a sudden they have to shine in another way, it becomes more difficult for them. So those three do well.
Some might ask, why do you think it's been good for you? In other words, why has, I mean, you are highly praised for this. I mean, somehow they think that this is the right fit for you.
Yeah.
You know, not Wheel of Fortune, not whatever. This show, I mean, there's something about, this is kind of a smart guy that he fits doing this kind of thing.
Well, I've always had a great respect for learning and for people who are bright and who are able, for instance, recently on this program you had former Secretary of State James Baker, and as I watched, I said, my gosh, he was one of America's leaders, an extremely bright, thoughtful man. And in Washington, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of politicians that we can dish against because they make mistakes and they get greedy and they do the bad things that rate a lot of press notice. but there are a lot of excellent people. In our contestant searches, we travel all over the country, and in the early days, I used to do the contestant searches. I'd go out there. One of the reasons would be to drum up interest in our show. And the best contestants, the most intelligent people we were testing, were always in Washington, D.C. And I used to tell folks, I said, that makes me feel good about our government because smart people are here. They've congregated in the nation's capital. So yeah, I've had a respect for knowledge and a genuine feeling of awe, if you will, for our contestants who from all walks of life come out there and demonstrate that knowledge and do well.
Speaking of that, did you have any kind of special relationship with Ken?
Ken Jennings? No, I don't associate with contestants before or after they appear on the program, but Ken was with us for over 37 hours, and we got to be friendly. I had a great deal of respect for him. He's probably the best player we've ever had on the program on many different levels, even though he's not the biggest money winner. Brad Rutter of Pennsylvania defeated Ken and another player in the ultimate tournament of champions playing for $2 million. But Ken had a good sense of humor, a good sense of himself, knew a lot about a lot of things, and understood the game.
What has it done for you beyond high visibility, very good income, a chance?
That's not too bad so far.
So far, very good. Have you made choices about your life and career because you were on this locomotive called Jeopardy?
Well, one of the things it's done, as you point out, it's given you visibility, and the visibility helps in other areas. Years ago, during the starvations in Ethiopia in the early 90s, I saw all these starving people on television, and I wanted to do something to help more than just sending in a contribution. And I contacted a friend of mine who had been doing some promos for World Vision, and I said, if there's any way I can help, please let me know. She contacted the people at World Vision. They got back to me, and they started sending me around the world to do these feature items to help them raise funds to deal with these problems and help with these child adoption services all over the world. And so that's one way in which it has helped me. In other ways, a lot of people say, do you get folks who come up to you on the street and try to nail you with clues and see if you're as smart as you appear on television? That has diminished a great deal since the early days of the program. And people now respond in a very friendly way. I'm somebody who's in your home 5 days a week. I'm hopefully perceived as a nice guy.
Clearly,
and I haven't lost a lot of my privacy. People respect that, and they treat me very nicely, and they don't rush me, and they're not in awe of me. I'm just a regular guy who happens to be hosting one of their favorite shows.
You tape it how many days a week?
We do 2 days a week, 5 shows a day. So I go in at 7 in the morning. I get the games, all 5 games for that day, which have just been selected by somebody from Standards and Practices. They select them at random. I get the 5 shows at 8:30, go into a production meeting at 9:30, then go to the studio, get dressed, get made up, start taping at 11:30. We're done by 5 p.m. Five shows. 5 shows, 2 days a week. So people say, what do you do the rest of the time? That's a pretty good job. Well, it is. It's a very good job.
It's a very fine job.
But I travel, and on occasion we go on the road to do college championships, and now we're in New York at Radio City Music Hall.
Explain that to me, this Radio City deal.
Well, these are celebrity shows.
Right.
And it's also our way of being a charitable organization. We're going to be giving away $1 million total to various charities represented by the celebrities. If you're a contestant on the program, your charity will be guaranteed $25,000. If you win your game, your charity or charities will split $50,000. So from that point of view, it's a great incentive for the performers. And there are performers out there who not only like our show, but who are very competitive also. And they want to demonstrate that they're just not an actor who is able to do somebody else's words, that they have intelligence. They know about what's going on in the world, and they can shine in this different milieu.
Do you go back to Canada much?
I get back there probably once or twice a year. I will be going next weekend in honor of a surprise birthday party for a friend of mine, one of my early producers at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, his wife is throwing a surprise 70th birthday for him.
Yeah.
And I was back there with my wife in June. I've been honored with my star on the Canadian Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
So I now have the Canadian Walk of Fame as well as the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Just for the record, here is Ken Jennings when he ends his streak on his 75th appearance. Rolled tape pretty well, but how did you take it?
I had a tear in my eye.
Did you really?
I really did. It came as such a shock. I was so used to saying, and Ken, you now have added $26,000 and you have this. What? Ken's going away? He's been with me for 16 weeks of taping, and now I have to say goodbye. There was strange.
That's what I meant about the relationship. Yeah.
And we had no time at the end because we were at the end of the program and we were out of time, so I didn't even have a chance to shake his hand or anything like that. I did it at the beginning of the next program. We brought him back for that, and but I really felt an emotional attachment to Ken Jennings at that time.
Merv has made a fortune from this, as we've already noted, and Wheel of Fortune as well.
Yes, indeed. He created both programs, and he wrote the think music for Jeopardy. And I had dinner with Merv recently, and he told me how many millions he makes a year off of this. And there was an article in the press not too long ago that said that over the years, Merv has made between $70 and $80 million just off the music.
How much do you think he's made off of Jeopardy?
Well, he sold Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune some years ago, so he no longer gets a royalty from the programs, I believe.
What did he sell it for?
He sold it for $250 million.
One or both?
Both of them.
Okay.
But he then added to that by buying hotels in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, and Atlantic City.
And then he got involved in the Bahamas, didn't he, or somewhere like that?
I visited Merv on his boat the other day. His boat is bigger than my house.
All right, take a look. There's Will Ferrell, who parodies Alex. Here it is.
Ferrell never dressed as well on Saturday Night Live as he did when he was portraying me.
And what do they say? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah, I loved it. People ask me all the time about that, in spite of the fact that Will hasn't been on Saturday Night Live for a couple of years now. And I wish he would come back to the program so that they could do these takeoffs again. He did come back to guest host a year after he left the program, and they did another Jeopardy parody, which I love. I mean, it's, as you say, it's the sincerest form of flattery. It makes me feel good, and the people in the audience know immediately what the reference is, just as they know immediately what the reference is when organists at baseball games start playing the Jeopardy theme when the manager goes to the mound to make a pitching change. They recognize the theme, so, oh, that's Jeopardy. Of course. Did you phrase that in the form of a question? Oh, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Continued success. Do it forever.